So now moving to item 29. Item 29. So Vicky, you're happy to move this?
Change.
Oh no, I'm happy for you to, and I'll second it.
All right. So Anne, you're happy to second?
I'm happy to second. Very happy to
Yep.
second.
So Vicky's moving, Anne is seconding.
Changes. Sorry.
So agreed due to the decision 10th of May 2018 to use an holding. So this is moved. So Vicky, you're moving this as an amended version.
What are we?
Right. Okay. So the staff recommendation has changed.
Oh.
Agree that due to the decision on 10th of May that council will waiver the process of only collecting.
If I just clarify that came out of the before council, there were questions about whether you were going to spend all the money or not, and you asked that all came out.
Yep. Yep. Cool.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
What's there.
So Vicky, you're happy with that, and you're happy with that. Okay. So this has been moved and seconded. I didn't check whether anybody had any questions. Ref.
Probably the same question I always ask. Is this something that council should be funding as opposed to central government?
So this was developed in response, you would have seen from the report, by the business community, social service agencies, health agencies and councillors. So councillors led this initiative and saw that it needed to be a multi-agency approach, and that the councils leading it, Councillor Galloway, Clearwater, Swigs and others, saw that council could make a contribution along with the police, social service agencies, health agencies and the local business. So this was seen as council's small contribution to what was a city problem, and would help, help that activation of the central city, make it a safer place for our citizens to be, and also assist people that are living rough and down on their luck. So it's a small contribution compared to the other partners.
Thank you.
Thank you. So still in questions, Dion.
Just given this is quite maybe a little bit different than what we've done things before, sorry, I'll start again. Given that this is kind of different to how we've done things before, do you think it would be prudent to have, say, a review of how it's working, say in like 8 months or 10 months or something like that before? Because obviously this is only a 12-month contribution. Do you think we should maybe have a review and actually say, is this working, given that there's the next item that's coming up as well? We'll have a review of how that's going to work, and then there's some other outreach things that are happening within the city around issues that are kind of related. I just want to sort of maybe, you know, I'm happy with how things are at the moment, but I do want to see maybe if we could do it better down the track once we see how these things work, that we actually can tie that into a review process.
So my understanding is that multi-agency group are going to continue to meet, led by Councillor Galloway, and that their intent will be monitoring what's happening and looking at other initiatives that might need to complement this. So I assume that multi-agency will do have a monitoring and review approach. Is that correct? Yeah.
So do you think there may be something that should come back to us at some stage around this, just to give confidence to the rest of the councillors around that?
Yep.
So should we put it into a resolution or something like that, just to give confidence to us that, you know, this is going to come back and we're all going to look at it as a collective whole?
So something along the lines of ask the interagency forum to review progress and report back to council in the next, within 12 months?
Yeah, probably something like that, yeah, okay. Before it gets to the end of this 12-month period, okay. Definitely.
Would a verbal report be adequate, or would you like something? We could.
Well, I'm just trying to give confidence to the rest of the body here, so that we, you know, to be a bit more accountable to the money that we're looking to give. Yep. Or to fund, I should say.
All right, so
shall I script that out loud? Okay,
yes, please.
So,
yep.
Ask or request that the interagency forum review progress and report back to council on the progress on the
Yep.
progress in the achievements of the initiative within 8 months, were you saying, or 12 months?
A month?
It's so that it can be considered before the end of the period that we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's effectively what I'm trying to achieve, because you know things may change in this space in that time, and we want to make sure that we're doing what's right for the city and for the people that we're trying to help.
So let's just get some wording up here, and then I'm going to need to check with the mover and seconder that they're happy with it.
Joe, we can't see it.
So request that the
Great.
request that the interagency forum report back to the council on the progress and achievements within 8 months. 8 months from now, yes, of course it does. Yep. Well, do we want to say earlier than that? Do we want to say? I don't know. I mean,
By the end of the year. By the end of the year.
yeah. That's or if we said within 6 months. It's a little bit longer. Yeah, that's fine. So just checking then with this additional wording, which should now be up on the screen. Vicky, you're comfortable with that? And Anne, you are? Yeah, great. Okay. So coming back to questions, I've got Pauline, Phil and Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. Just on 4.6, and we've actually tied this into 2 full-time workers. Is there a possibility that this could actually be 4 part-time? So is this binding us unnecessarily? Does that need to be there?
No, that could be FTE, so it will be up to that.
I think it'd be worth putting FTE in then, I think,
Okay.
just in case. Thank you.
Yeah, that just allows, I mean, that's operational, but it allows for that flexibility. Yeah, that's fine. Phil?
Thank you, Mary. Just for the outreach worker, like as part of the Safer City group, there have been very good minutes gone back to all the participants. And it just seems, and I'm in support of 4, I think it's good to have full accountability. But I just, I'm checking with you that so far with those minutes, I'm assuming that you'll have seen them being a good record for the accountability of that group. I'm just making sure.
Yes, yeah, and I'm sure that you could ask the chair to make sure that you continue to see
I will.
the minutes. Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I was just wondering whether it needed to come all the way up to council or whether it be good for it to go to Phil's committee.
They're the terms of reference
then,
anyway. That's right.
Yeah. So whether rather than coming straight to council with that, maybe it just goes to the committee, and then if there's any further work or recommendations that need, maybe then that comes through to council. But I mean, I think that probably sits really well in the committee.
Well, it sounds like it will be reported into council via the committee's minutes anyway.
Yeah. So it just could be in the minutes.
If there was, the only thing I'm thinking was if there was an issue around timing with wanting the report to come as late as possible, but not so late that it couldn't be taken into account for the annual plan, it may be that might be a reason to bring it straight to council rather than taking time to put it through the committee.
Could you just leave report back on progress and
Yeah, and
achievements
then
within
that way
6
That's
months?
fine, and then
Nice.
whatever's
Yep.
considered appropriate at that time, given whatever timing constraints there might be, that would work. Yep, that's good. Okay, so no more, Yanni.
Can you just explain or advise how much money is left in the endowment fund, if we agree to
I
this?
think it's in is it in that report? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I couldn't
Can
find
you
it.
give me a few minutes
Yeah,
to
I looked in the
and we'll probably need to have a break because I'll need to go back.
Do we need to know the answer to that question in order to pass this resolution, to consider this resolution?
Well, it'll be more than $70,000.
Yeah, clearly.
And if it's not, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
We looked at the inflation.
How quickly can we... So, Yanni, I'm assuming in as much as you've asked the question, you're wanting the answer in order to consider the answer as part of the way that you're intending voting on this?
Even if it was just general, do you know if there's hundreds of thousands left or if there's just...
I think there's
$10 left
over
or-
$1 million is my estimate.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is helpful with these reports if we're taking money from a fund that we're showing,
Yeah.
you know, how much is left. But I'm happy just if there's... Yeah, I'm happy just to take the general.
Yeah, no, that's all good. But yeah, for future reference, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the way that, you know, when we're allocating from the various funds available at community board meetings, for example, generally we'll get a report which shows what the balance of the fund is and, you know, maybe just even what other calls on it there might be in the meantime as well.
The other question I had was in regards to the city mission. why was the city mission chosen? And given that we extensively fund the city mission and have given huge capital grants to them, is any of the other funding that we've given to them going towards this project?
So, so you would have seen in the report that the City Mission are contributing half of this towards this initiative, or over half. So the City Mission were identified in a meeting of some key social service and health providers, and one of the reasons was because they were prepared to put up funding for one of the social workers themselves. They were seen as the people that actually had the immediate day programs and night shelter to get people referred to, and they also linked in with people like the Pegasus Health PCW workers, with mental health services and with alcohol and drug services.
I'm just trying to understand, like we fund a number of programs at the City Mission, and I'm just trying to understand if there's any of the other funding that we've approved to the City Mission that's actually paying for this same project?
No.
It's completely separate.
Yep.
So they're raising that money through
Their donations and fundraising.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And just to, so my understanding is there's 750,000 remaining in the fund, the Capital Endowment Fund, after your allocation. So your allocation at the LTP allocated a considerable amount of money, so then now there's 750 left.
All right, thank you. No further questions? Okay, so this has been moved and... Jimmy, yes.
Regarding to the outreach, this service will cover suburban area, because like Upper area also have these beggars homeless. I just want to know, focus on central city or cover suburban area?
It was focusing on the central city areas, my understanding, and Councillor Galloway, who led this initiative, may be able to give more information, but my understanding it was that Linwood, Colombo, central city area, but we could discuss whether, if the problem...
Operating area also.
Yeah.
Just want to remind,
Thank you. So, Jimmy, you're happy with that? Okay. Yep, all right. So, moved and seconded. Is there any debate on this? Phil?
Well, I want to strongly support this. I think it clearly fits alongside the Housing First issue, which is a next report on the agenda too. And it is distinctly separate though, although it's related. And I think that's really important for us as a council to look at the impact of this begging issue on our streets. You cannot walk past and ignore it, as I believe as council. The behaviour is unacceptable often. It is impacting on businesses, and that is something which in fact we have to support. We support our Central Business District the Association, and that's a good thing, and they in effect are asking for this support too. So but basically, yes, we know that in fact when people are homeless, there's often a whole lot of dysfunction attached to their behaviour. There are a whole lot of other issues too, which are separate from the homelessness. We also know that some of these people may well have a home, but this is a distinct issue which there is no doubt our city has to seriously address. So I commend the recommendations to you.
Thank you. So I've got Sarah and then Dion and then Anne. Sarah.
Thank you. It's clear that no city in the world has yet solved these issues by simply putting in rules and regulations. Melbourne, the most livable city in the world, still has homeless sleeping on its streets and people begging. It's really not easy, and there are no silver bullets for these issues. And while I agree with Ref that it's a national problem and probably a central government one to lead, we can't simply ignore it. And local businesses and residents have asked us to act, and I think this is a good start.
Thank you. Dion.
One of the biggest feedbacks that I get from people who work in the central city, people that visit the central city, is around the issue of how they their perceived safety on some of the streets in the city, and it's become a relative problem for Christchurch as we start to regenerate and actually have a city centre that starts to come alive. The city centre sort of attracts a lot of people, and by attracting a lot of people, you're going to attract those that are looking for opportunities, and that's what I kind of keep saying, that these people that we're trying to help here are looking for opportunities, whether it's the right opportunity or the wrong way of going about it. But this is, I stress that this issue is around the safety of the central city, safety of not just the central city, but also areas such as Linwood Village, down Colombo, and potentially other parts of the city. As Jimmy said, I think there is good scope to actually look at areas where this issue is. This is, you know, safety is a big factor, and the police are coming to work alongside this. And in the future, I'm glad that there's a 6-month sort of review on this, because by that stage, the police would have gone, increased their patrols on the central city. They will have more resource in our streets, so we can actually look at the other work that will happen as well, which is the Housing First stuff, which we'll look at next, around the homelessness issue, because yes, they are interlinked, but this is really around the safety of our central city and those streets around it, so people who want to go to work can actually feel like they've got a good place to work, where productivity can increase and actually everybody can have a good time and make money and be able to pay their rent and do all those good things and have a good time.
Fantastic. Anne?
So this, the goal of this is to address the issues caused by the growing number of street beggars in our central city in a compassionate way. It's also to address the concerns that our business community has and the effect that it's having on the perceptions that people are having, and also their sense of safety in there. So I think we should be really proud of this as a city. I think we, as a council, we're leading the way here. We're taking leadership, and I really want to thank the staff who have been working on this, and particularly Mary, who's, it sort of became quite urgent as we were hearing more and more incidents of where people were feeling threatened and unsafe. And I think the way that this has quickly come together is a real credit to everybody. This has been going on, we've been meeting and talking about this since February. And it's, there's been a very good foundation laid with the multi-agencies coming together, and from that strong foundation this has come out. So we've got the police who are committing to increase their foot patrol and their presence in the city, central city. They want to work with us to get a sustainable outcome. We've got us who are partnering with the City Mission to support a social work outreach service, and by providing funding. So we've got 2 workers who will be on the coalface. They will be the ones talking to those folk that are sitting out on the street and helping them to find a pathway from the footpath to a whare, to somewhere that is to find their dignity again, to find their purpose, to find some hope. So we already have a huge amount of resource being put into supporting people. What we need and what we have here is a way to actually build on that resource that we already have. We already have day programs. Drug Arm with Jeff, they run day programs for people. There are places for them to go to learn skills, to learn, just learn skills for employment. So we already have those things. It's about helping people to find them, and we also need to obviously get them into homes for those who don't have homes. So I'm really pleased and proud of the work that we've done here. I think it's fantastic, so really appreciate your support for this going forward.
Jimmy and then Mike.
I fully agree with the end point of view, but I'm concerned is the city, you know, is the whole city rather than central city. Especially we do this outreach service should be made all those the people's needs, especially for those the new beggars, you know, all those the homeless, etc. We all aware Ibis Hotel in front of them, Colombo Street, Valentine, etc. But Linwood and also Church Corner more and more serious about this matter. So if we working together with those the Christchurch, the city mission, we should overall view the city's the issue rather than just focus on the central city. So I fully agree, support the gain and the point of view. Also, I would like to know to take the city as a whole rather than central city. Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you. I will be supporting this. People sleeping rough and begging in our city centre is an obvious issue, and there's many reasons why it's occurring. And it is affecting a lot of people, from those people that are sleeping rough and begging to people visiting the city, businesses, people that work in there. And yeah, no one has managed to solve this problem, but that shouldn't stop us from trying. And who knows, this actually could be the silver bullet.
Yanni.
Yeah, I was privileged enough to be on the council when the City Mission came and asked for capital funding for their new building. We put in $2 million, which was quite considerable. And at that time, there was a request to see whether they could consider actually building housing above or within their new development. If you look at what's happening around the world, you can see that community solutions to addressing chronic homelessness and issues of addiction and dealing with really the most expensive people in terms of the cost to the courts, health and welfare is to build these services on the bottom and apartments on top. This is actually the most cost-effective solution that is saving a lot of money. So I think there's a combination of different things that we can do to address it, but fundamentally at some stage just funding workers to go around I think does become very unsustainable. We've already funded the City Mission on so many different levels to deal with people in need, and yet what we're seeing is a hugely growing demand. So I think, you know, I'm certainly going to support this today. I do think coming out of the Capital Endowment Fund, not out of rates, this is appropriate. The Capital Endowment Fund has really been captured for the economic interests of the city at the expense of some of the community interests, and I think today's a chance to actually try and readdress that in terms of giving a priority to the social and the community aspect of that fund. But I do think we need to start having a wider conversation around why this is happening and what other permanent solutions are. Just continuing to put band-aids on something isn't working, and we do need to think about the permanent solutions. The final point I just make in regards to that is that we do need to get a much better relationship in terms of central government's response. When we hear, you know, the deportees coming in from Australia, for example, when we hear that the central government encouraging people to come to Christchurch as the land of opportunity, it's quite harrowing to see the impact that many of central government's decisions have on us as a city, and yet the support that is not being matched from central government. Auckland's just announced, I think, 250 bedroom apartments up in Grays Avenue. They've actually got government funding, services on the bottom and accommodation on the top, and yet we've got nothing like that being done here. And yet a lot of the issues, I believe, is to do with central government in terms of what they've done in terms of the responsibility that they have, and we need to get them actually addressing these issues much better than what they are. But I'm happy to support this today.
Glenn.
Oh, thank you. There's government and there's government, and this is a different government. So what I'd like to, I was just showing you that red tie, Yanni. So just what I wanted to say is that actually the City Mission is already running the service you've just talked about. So across the road in Hereford Street, in the last term of council, we approved funding for transitional emergency housing along with the social work component. So we have the kind of more established part of the mission on one side of Hereford Street, and then on the other side we have that model that you've been talking about. My view is that we need to do all that we can to address this. Not all of those who line up for Daniel Chung's lunches on Sunday in Latimer Square are homeless. In fact, there's quite a queue that reflects the desperation and the lack of options that some people in our city have. So I really implore you to support this. I actually think this is good value for money at $70,000 in terms of other spends that we have in the council. So hopefully a unanimous vote today.
Regardless of where the responsibility for this naturally falls, I think it's fair to say that You know, a number of people in the city and a number of people, if not everybody around this table, would share my disappointment when I walk down Hereford Street and I see people sleeping on the street, wrapped in blankets, with a few possessions wrapped up in another blanket or maybe in a shopping trolley or something. When I see people huddled in doorways on Colombo Street and sleeping on the streets. That's something that shouldn't be happening in any city, but it certainly shouldn't be happening in Christchurch, and it's something that we don't want to see happening here. And, you know, regardless of where the natural responsibility for resolving this lies, I think as a city we've got a part to play in finding a solution, and I think this is that part that we can play in finding a solution. I hope it works. I hope it goes some way towards working. If it brings about some improvement, that'll have been a good thing. So there have been, you know, a number of issues raised in this debate, but in terms of what we're dealing with today, I think this is a positive step, and it'll be great to see some positive outcomes as a result of it. And I know that a lot of work has gone into this from a number of councillors and also from staff, and I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank you for the work that you've put into it, and I'll be just as interested as those that have been close to it in seeing some good outcomes come out of it. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. So now moving on to